What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's Thursday Live. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. If you are new to the group, we do these every week, Thursdays at 11. Normally what I'll do is I'll post out the content schedule a couple weeks back or a couple weeks ahead, and that way you guys can kind of see what's coming up on what day. So if you want to earmark it or have suggestions of some things that you would like me to cover, by all means, I'm more than happy to take those suggestions. And if I get a good one, I'll definitely run and cover it. So right now we're kind of in this staffing realm of how can we provide the value to your businesses, and a lot of you are struggling with the staff, right? And so what I want to do is I want to today talk about career pathing and how that's going to help you keep your best staff. And so let's talk a little bit about what is career pathing. Career pathing is somebody comes into your business, you get them started on, let's say, rung number one, and then they ask themselves a question. Okay, I start here, I'm a part-time coach, I'm 17, 19, 20, 21, somewhere in that range, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, and I want to know, what does 5 to 10 years or maybe longer in your business look like? Because that's kind of what I'm curious about in the back of my head, is when I come to work for a business. Any I'm telling you, anyone who does this, right? And you've probably done this in the past, where you went and worked for a business. You asked yourself the question of, like, is this in my interest long term? Okay, and so that's what career pathing is. Career pathing is looking to give that long term buy-in to the person who is seeking it out, and that makes a huge difference, especially when you get into the day to day of, well, why should I care about doing a good job cleaning? Why should I do a good job fulfilling any of the duties that are on my scorecard? Why should I care about any of that? Well, the answer is long-term buy-in. Eventually, compensation is going to run out. Like, yes, it's good to make the hourly, but eventually that long-term buy-in is going to be what gets me really bought into the day-to-day, because then it's going to allow my weeks to turn into months, to turn into years, and feel like I'm progressing towards a goal, as opposed to just kind of spinning my wheels over time. So that's what we talk about when it comes to career pathing. Now, I'm going to show you guys an example of what I've built out in terms of imagery for some of our clients' websites. So I actually have this displayed on a client's website right now, where they're getting a lot of good applicants. And so I want to kind of detail out what that looks like, and then also why the thinking behind each of these stages. Okay, so it's like, we're going to start with an applicant here, and then as we go throughout, all right, as we go throughout the steps in the process, I'll kind of outline the thinking that's behind those steps in the process. Okay, so let's start with the beginning over here with Flex Coach. Okay, so the reason we build it in this manner is we want people to see kind of like a minimum buy-in and a maximum buy-in of, like, what does it look like to be minimally bought into your business. And so again, I'm a massive fan of transparent pay systems. And so career pathing and transparent pay systems collectively allow people to then look at the business and see long-term return of what it's going to be like working for your business over a long period of time, working in your kids program for a long period of time. So this allows talent to really get into the mindset of, okay, cool, I want to start as this, I want to move to this, I want to move to this, I want to move to this. Now, you might ask yourself, Charlie, why do it this way, and why not have other, et cetera, right? So in majority of the situations with kids programs, okay, your coaching infrastructure is your primary revenue driver. Okay, your coaching infrastructure is your primary revenue driver, and so that's why I've put a lot of emphasis on that. Because when it comes to outside roles, support roles, tertiary roles, like maybe custodians or administrators or front desk people, those are not always going to be required roles. Some businesses want to allocate funds to that. Some businesses don't. The coach is the central piece in your business and can very much do a lot of those roles for you. So that's why I like to build around the coaches. Now, the front half right here, Flex Coach, Anchor Coach, Head Coach. All right, these fall into the fifth dimension or fourth dimension of our business pipeline, which we call fulfillment. Okay, fulfillment. Okay, now what is fulfillment? Fulfillment is the dimension of the business that's actually fulfilling on the promises that have been made in lead gen, lead nurture, and sales. Okay, so now's the time for you as the business to provide feedback to the customer. All right, now the first half of this is super crucial in the lifetime of the employee, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to position ourselves to where the employee has an exciting roadmap to be bought in on. So they're like, I love this business. I want to, work 5 years to become this. But also, we're looking at it from the standpoint of, if I had my ideal roadmap to take someone who doesn't know anything about this business, the kids program, but they have all the intangibles that I'm looking for, right? Those character traits, those you can't train. You can train anyone to coach the class. You can train the skill sets. But what you can't train a lot of times is those intangibles that really help scale up the program. Okay, so when it comes to the first half of this business here, this is all going to be sitting in fulfillment. All right. Now, what we're worried about in terms of fulfillment is that is the primary product or service that the business is offering. We want this potential candidate who says, yeah, I want to eventually be running this location. If you're going to have multiple locations, that's why you'd have a location manager, because they're kind of overseeing the entire location. You need to have them familiar with what the actual product demands of the business, right? Because they're not going to really understand the intricacies of why you have to have X amount of coaches and X amount of product and X amount of classes to get to the bottom line unless they've actually spent time doing the fulfillment themselves. All right. So this front half of the career path timeline is centered around fulfillment. How do I take someone who I'm like, this is an ideal candidate, I want to build on this person, and then how do I walk them through the fulfillment pipeline and say, let me teach them how to coach, let me teach them how to provide the primary value, the primary service that this business has to offer, okay? That's all going to be done in these first 3 stages, okay? So flex coach into an anchor coach, and the reason I like to call them flex coaches and anchor coaches is I don't like doing part-time, full-time. The reason I don't like doing part-time, full-time is there's a lot of pre-built conceptions around what that means, and that we don't want those brought into the formula. So flex coach is the understanding of someone, hey, I'm coming in to do hourly, but the expectation of this position is that it's flexing, meaning it's covering classes that may not be on its normal schedule. So I'm setting that expectation right out the gate. That's where we get the most value from there. Anchor coach. Now you're actually getting to fulfill a full-time coaching schedule. What does that look like? What does that feel like? Okay. That's what we're doing in terms of flex coach, anchor coach. All right. Head coach. Now we're actually getting a little more into the management side of the business. So I'm going to say that this is where we start to see a split in the dimensions, okay? And so we have fulfillment up to this point, but now we're starting to integrate staff, okay? So now we're integrating the staff dimension. Now, what does the head coach primarily do? The head coach is not necessarily worried about providing disciplinary professional feedback to the coaches. They're primarily worried about making sure that the coaches have everything they need to do an amazing class, to do an amazing set of progressions or digressions or regressions, however you want to say that, for these classes that they're fulfilling on. So the head coach has primary fulfillment responsibilities, but they're balancing that with some kind of managerial responsibilities. It would be similar to kind of like what you would find within an assistant manager. Okay. Now, the staff dimension is going to start to bleed over into program director. Now, depending on how you want to structure the business, you are going to start to see what I'll say is just all dimensions. Okay, we're going to put AD here of all dimensions. All right, in the program director, meaning they're worried about how do I generate leads? How do I nurture those leads into the business? How do I sell those leads into the program that we're offering? And then fulfillment, right? And a lot of the business's revenue is coming from fulfillment. Matter of fact, all of it is coming from fulfillment. So that's why there's such a great deal of your career pathing dedicated to the flex coach, the anchor coach, and the head coach, because those roles are actually figuring out how's the butter being made, how's the bread being baked, right? They're actually figuring out the intricacies of what your business is providing to the community. And that's super important because when we want to graduate them up to these higher roles, they have a familiarity with the bread that the community wants to buy, but they don't necessarily know the business intellect necessary to provide that bread to the community. And so that's when they start to kind of move into these roles where they're starting to encompass more and more dimensions. Now, again, you can train anyone to learn the skill. Well, I take that back. You can train the right person to take on the skill sets that are necessary. We're not necessarily worried about them coming with the skill sets. Again, want to look for the clay, not the pot, right? Which means we want to find the talent, the intangibles, the things that are really difficult to find that you can't train into them. We want to find that first and then worry about, okay, cool, now I'll teach them how to generate leads, how to nurture leads. I'll teach them the process Because if someone's willing to learn those things, you're good to go. But if they don't have the intangibles, you're going to just spend all this time teaching them something and then regret the fact that you even did that, okay? So we want to look for those intangibles as we graduate people up their career path timeline, and not all the times are, you know, a person who's going to make a great program director going to be your best coach, and vice versa. Okay, again, those are character traits we want to find first. We can teach them how to coach. There's plenty of resources out there for that, guys. And I don't want you guys to get locked up on, oh, well, they don't have this particular background. That stuff is irrelevant, okay? That stuff is irrelevant, because what you're asking yourself is, can I see this person genuinely contributing to the bottom line of my business, genuinely contributing to the value of the business, genuinely contributing to the culture of the business? And this career path timeline is a huge piece, not only for them to figure out their long-term buy-in to your business, but it's also a massive piece when it comes to you identifying how you want to properly grow candidates into the eventual role of getting you out of the management of the business, okay? Because you as the owner are the most valuable piece in the business, because you have to fulfill all roles. But as you fulfill each role, right, like you as an owner, for example, maybe you started your business out and you did, 5 or 10 classes a week, right? It's a part-time gig, whatever. Okay, so you start here. Then eventually you graduate to the anchor coach, or some of you start out as the anchor coach. So you're the kind of anchor to the program. And then you graduate to kind of a head coach, where you bring on other coaches and you're kind of teaching them how to coach, but you're also still doing some coaching yourself. Maybe now you're coaching your high ticket programs, and then these other coaches are coaching your recreational programs. Okay, so you kind of are watching yourself as the owner grow through this career path timeline, and you're saying, how do I shape it to where someone kind of follows this career path to eventually become flex coach, anchor coach, head coach, program director, and then eventually location manager? Because you as the owner, it's not pictured here, right? But you as the owner want to sit over here. Okay, and this is where you are in freedom land to be whatever you want to be. Do you want to be at home with your family and having the gym sending you a check? Do you want to come into the gym and coach every now and then? Do you want to open up other locations? How do you want to play out this role over here? This is up to you as the owner, okay? Because ultimately you're trying to create a pathway that you followed that you can now teach others how to do those same things, because you're scaling up the business. So you're moving from doing the roles to coaching the roles, all right? And so this career path timeline serves as a tool for both you as the owner and them as the employees to see, what does my future look like with this company, versus you as the owner have an opportunity to reflect on what was my past with the company and what was beneficial, what wasn't beneficial, and how do I take people through that same timeline and same pathway? Because I know everybody, whether they say it or not, eventually wants to get to the point where their business is autonomous, meaning it's running itself. You don't need to be there. It sends you a paycheck, whatever you're doing. Maybe you're at home, retired, I don't know. Whatever you decide to do, you do want that business to continue on producing the same result, whether you're there or not. And career paths are how you do that. This is how you get people bought into your business for 3, 5, 10 years, is by providing them this clear set timeline so that they have a clear understanding of, this is why this business is worth my future. Okay, that's a big ask for you as a business. And if you provide this right out the gate of, here's what this timeline looks like, right? And when I normally paint this for people, it's like, look, this is generally speaking, you want like maybe 2.5 years at each role. Okay, so 2.5. So this is about 5. This is another 5. And then over here is kind of that question mark time frame of, do I want to open up multiple locations? Okay. And that gives you the opportunity to make that decision at the time, to switch from program director to location manager. And this person's like purely business intellect. They're not handling any staffing. The program director is actually reporting to them. Okay, so I wanted to show this to you guys because a lot of you are struggling with, how do I get my staff bought in long term? Well, you have to give them something to bite onto and to grab hold of, and you have to stick by it. They need to see other people in your business moving up through this particular path and this particular timeline to see that it's real, right? So if I come in as a flex coach, I'd like to ideally see someone who was a flex coach and now is an anchor coach, someone who was ideally an anchor coach and now is a head coach, so on and so forth. You guys get the idea. That's how it's going to become real for me. And then also when we're doing our reviews, right, we've given you guys the eval sheet, we've given you the coach scorecard. When you do those reviews every quarter, you are reinforcing this career path timeline, saying, look, with this flex coach role, you're doing great. What's it going to take to get you to that next stage in the in the career path timeline? Sorry, I had a comment. Wanted to make sure I was getting to it. So this is, I know I marked it up a ton. So this, guys, is how you're going to do it. This is how you're going to build out career path timelines. Again, this is an example of when I would upload to your website, okay? I have the pay on there so that they can see, okay, this is where I'm going to get started. This is where I'll grow into. And you don't necessarily set timelines, okay? Because it's really up to you to determine, maybe someone's a flex coach for a year and you're like, they're crushing it, anchor coach. Maybe they're a flex coach for 6 months. You need them as an anchor coach and they're ready, put them in. And it continues on in that process. I would be a little more vigilant about timelines as you get further into the process, because you do want time and experience to compound on itself so that they can do a good job as program director. Leadership roles, if you rush people into them, there's a lot more tendency to mess things up. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and place them in the comment section now. I know I speak super fast, so forgive me, but I try to get a ton of information into this 15-minute video. I'm already at 16 minutes. So that I can respect your guys' time, but also give you a ton of value here in this group. Allie's going to actually post in the comment section, either during the video or later, our calendar. So if you need help with your career path timeline, I'll do a quick 30-minute call with you, kind of just detailing how specifically I would help you with your career path timelines. You'll see that calendar in the comment section below. Go ahead and grab a time there. Yeah, cool. She put it in the comment section. And then for those who are on our team, obviously they get lots more than that from us. Lots of help with that. But this is how we would start to kind of shape out your career pathing to help you attract really good candidates. Okay, so this is how you attract really, really good candidates. Is because they're not just looking at what am I going to make this hour, but they're also looking at what am I building towards? Is this job building me towards something that I can call a career, that I can call a home? And the number one thing, I've talked to a lot of coaches and a lot of owners. The number one thing that drives talent out of this industry is there's no pay structure, there's no career pathing that's respected or enforced. It's just kind of like owners making off-the-cuff promises. And the reason it's that way is because no one ever sits down to take the time to build out a system like this and actually stick to it. It's important to build it, but it's more important to stick to it. Okay, and if you don't have the business framework that allows you that enables you to build a career path, to see what that looks like, then we definitely need to get on a call together, because this is something that will not only help you fix your staffing issue, but will also help you fix your revenue and profitability. They're all connected together, okay? So I hope you guys found a lot of value on today's call or whatever, stream live, whatever. And, I'll see you guys next week on Thursday. As always, in the comment sections, let me know what you thought, what I could help you with. And as always, I'd love to read those and see what I can do to be of assistance to you guys. So God bless. I hope you have a great week. Look forward to next week's live. Same time. I will see you guys there.